Okay, welcome to another high quality video. Now, this one's about parameters in reports, so I'll show you what it should look like after we've done it. So we've got the two reports that we were messing around with before. If you remember, this one here shows you every student. Now what we'd like it to do is this. So this is report parameter, so it's using a parameter, so it's only displaying the student that we want it to display. So I select Fred. So you're going to give me Fred. So this would be ideal for things like invoices, where you only want to print one invoice rather than every single invoice that you've got. As I said, the process is quite long and tedious, but we will get there in the end. Right then, so first of all, what you need to do is make sure that you have got a form to do a report on. Okay, so I have already created one, which I will show you shortly. Right, so when this loads up, I'll have a form that I can show you. So I've added to my stats menu a report parameter there, and I've created a form called FRM parameter. Right, so we're ready to go then. So if you've pause it now and get that form created so you can open it. Right, so the first thing we do with these things is mess around with the dataset, the XSD file. And you may remember we did this before, we created that one there for the other report. Right, so we do the same thing again. We even though it's going to be pretty much exactly the same as that one, we need a new one because we're going to modify it slightly. So as before, right click, add table adapter. It should be the settings that connection settings that we've already got. Use SQL, query builder, select the two tables that we want, which is those two, close, and then just simply select what fields we want. So we'll have student name, don't think we need the date of birth, have the ID, the period of the late, the date of the late, and number of minutes late. Okay, so we can execute that, and that's basically going to give us back everything. Right, now what we need to do now is specify a criteria for the parameter. So what we want it to do is only show some of the students. So we're going to filter it on the student ID. So all I simply do is type in a question mark under the field or fields, you can do it on multiple ones, of the one I want to actually filter on. So if I click OK now, and you notice it's modified the SQL there, it says where student ID is question mark. I'm going to finish it there. Now it's done this thing again where it's created a relationship. I don't know why, so just make sure you delete that because that could cock things up. Rename your table adapter, so I'm going to call it Q for parameter. Right, and then you can see there it's got student ID in brackets. So if I do preview data, you will see this. It's expecting a value. So if I just put in 1, so there are no student IDs with 1. How about 2? Right, now we've got Dave there. It appears multiple times. So we can just filter on Dave. If I've got a 3, depends if I've deleted them. Yes, I have. Alright, so you can see now we need to specify a number or the student ID of the record we want to display. Right, so that's working fine. So I'm going to close that. Right. Now the next thing we need to do is on our form that we created to do this, which is this one here, form FRM parameter, is put the report viewer on there. So whack on the report viewer, and now we'll create a new report. We'll put the combo box in later, don't worry about that. So design a new report. Right, so we get the same report wizard. Select the dataset. Now we want to select our new query. Okay, so it's got all the fields there. Next. So it's much like before, we want to group it on student name and student ID, and the other can go in there. Now remember again, it's trying to sum up too much stuff. So we get rid of the sum on the period. Get rid of the sum on the minutes late, and we'll just take that as a reasonable report, even though it looks pretty terrible. Right, so click next again, finish, and I'm going to close that. It's called a report 3, that's fine. Now, what we're going to do now is select the report we just created, so it's report 3. Now, we've now done that, and it's created the local sort of data set and binding source and stuff. Now, what would normally find is, you notice you should have an error. Now, if I go and double click in here, it errored on this line here. Now, this is the line where it basically goes and says, can I have the data to fill up, please, from the database. Now, it's gone for Q for parameter. Now, the reason why it doesn't like it is because it's expecting a number here, a parameter. So if I press comma, it says student ID is integer there. So I'm just going to give it a value. I know 2 is Dave. Alright, so that gets rid of the error. It's not going to be the ideal solution overall, but it's just a good point to check, see if everything's working. So go to reports, report parameter. Okay, so it's showing me Dave. I haven't got the option to do anybody else, but I will now give myself the option in a minute. So that's good. So it works. Right, what I want to do now is add a combo box so I can actually select which student I actually want to display. So now I'm going to go for the toolbox, common controls, combo box, whack one of those on. Now I'm going to do a bound combo box, so it'll fill it up with data from the database. So use data bound items. Now the data source, you've got to be careful here, it's easy to cock this up. So go for other data sources, project data sources, then the data set, and then you click on the student. Don't go for the query or anything like that. Right, so we're going to display the student name, but also get the student ID that we can access. Now the .text property will be the thing you can see, but the selected value will be the student IDs which you can't see. So if I run this now, it's not going to be much different to be honest, but you should see now that I can now select Rick. Now what I want to do when I select Fred or none or whatever, I want it to change the report to reflect that. It doesn't do that at the moment, so let's get it to do that. So what I've got to do is double click on the combo box, and I'll now have this event procedure. I should have renamed it, but it's too late now. Now that line fills up the combo box when the form loads. That's fine. Now these two lines are the important ones, so I'm going to just copy those. So Control C, Control V. Now instead of the 2 here, I actually want the value that's in the combo box. So what I'll simply do then is combo 1 dot selected value. Okay, so that brings back the number of the. If I put .text there, it will bring back the name. Trying to match a name to a student ID, not going to work. So now run this again. Okay, we have Dave, Rick, Fred, none. So it's all working lovely. Okay, so that's basically how you create parameters. You can also use more than one field, or you can use dates as well. And that is it.